저게 된주기 밀루를 뭐체 톱 여바디 다 안에 대소 안에 저게 기지 지와 남징의 메레스 제사 안에 지위 시안에 다저 지왕의 메레 제사다 지위에서나 안에 안치마도 가서래 예매인자 다당한 저기 띠엔텔라 안에 다데 겨와치마가 손을 마줘야 당 안에 델레 탈제 안에 사다 미고 와토야 탈바다 탐지키 묘고 와토야기 다 소사 주장지에기 된 개발진에 다데디 안에 예대바래 지산디네 인사 다데 예대바 델레야 안에 다 먼저게 다 최지에도 로체마 신저바이나 안에 기티싱 해봐요 말이에요 지산디네 인사 안 최지에디 드링이 바디네기 다들 봐도 나중에 두스체는 두세 망보 조사하래서 제가 드리는 바다 최남바 다바지 아니 개와치만 다다 미고 와다 탈바다 탐지기 미고 와 토예기 귤이야 베저 드리는 지긴 삼제 하는 아주 두스체네 곰바치 곰 삼나나디 안에 야도 삼다 아니 아주 라렌데야 돼 아니 개위 자와라 가제도 지고래서 되게 아주 디고 쉬죠.
Good evening. So last time we continued to look at this the presentation on the impermanence of this life. And this follows from the section where we looked at the preciousness of this human rebirth that we have all achieved. This rebirth that is so precious in terms of both its rarity as well as the tremendous hardship that one had endured in past lives to accumulate all the causes that have led to this great ripening result. But in this context now, we're looking at this life that has such potential. This life is impermanent. It changes momentarily. In fact, this means that our death approaches. Each moment that passes, each breath that we exhale, it brings the time of our death ever closer. And when our death comes, there's only one of two directions our next rebirth will take. Depending on the causes that we've created, one either falls into the suffering lower realms or continues in these happy, pleasant migrations such as we've achieved in this life. So therefore, this life that we have achieved, which has so much potential, that has such capacity to achieve such great meaning, at the very, very least we need to ensure that we achieve an abundance of powerful causes that will bring about a good rebirth, and thereby, at least for our next rebirth, attaining freedom from falling to the lower realms. Furthermore, in these reflections, when we've come to gain certainty that death will come, we remind ourselves that the time of death, this is completely unknown. None of us can say for certain when our time of death will be or the manner in which we'll pass. So therefore, reflecting on the one hand, the uncertainty with regard to the time of death, as well as that the majority of our life has most probably passed, we now commit to utilizing whatever remains of this life, as utilizing this to accumulate virtue, to direct our mind towards virtue. And in this way, ensure that moment by moment, with the mind placed on virtue, we accumulate causes that will lead to good rebirths. And with such commitment, we strive to make great endeavor, with great endeavor, to utilize well what remains of this life.
Kanichi lower sene anzo sem gyua daya de sigurwa chue sa de sem nyomo begi choso matang wa che sem de gewi cho gewi samlo de gaje ge tuya de beju sigure chue che sa de sigurwa da anzo gewi ge jawa kasne nyomo be jawa diba dibe legaro chebe na digi tele tene jebu dunga de ngorwa tese dine za jebu dunga mo za anzo dunga le tha gu gorwa dunga le tha gu gor sesan dunga le tha gu ba enza 미게와 데 맞제 바체 당 안조로 고야 데 대화도 구구연사 대화도 규갈레 때는 용것은 개화 제발레 때는 용거로 제가 딱 개화 제고래 저래 최세도 안조 다된 양조 셈디 Nyomobe Jolly, Shukshimu Dugurwa, Titan di chase in the Guatang, so chase in Guatange, saying as to give his Cholia, and gave you somebody, Kazi, my Giele, Pituchi, or
Where we concluded last week was in the meditation on the impermanence of this life. The first point was to gain certainty of death. Then the second point was the uncertainty of the time of death. And the third point, which is the conclusion, which is to commit, to strive wholeheartedly, to apply oneself to the Dharma. So now we come to the point of, then if we have to apply ourselves to the Dharma, cultivate the Dharma as purely as possible in a correct and unadulterated manner, what does this mean? What is meant by Dharma? So the easiest way to understand the Dharma is the easiest way to understand applying oneself to the Dharma means to change our mind, to change our way of thinking, to turn our direction of flow of our consciousness from the direction leaning towards the afflictions to a direction freed of the afflictions towards virtue. And this is the meaning of applying oneself to the Dharma, of cultivating the Dharma, of developing the Dharma in our mind. It's changing our mind in the direction away from the afflictions and towards virtue. And this is because from the afflictions, suffering follows. The mere arisal of an affliction in one's mind destroys any mental peace. Whether it's anger or attachment, it destroys mental peace and accumulates non-virtue. This is what we want to be liberated from. We want to attain a state freed from suffering. Suffering is the afflicted minds. And to attain freedom from suffering, what this means is to take our mind away from going in the direction towards afflictions, but rather in the direction of virtue, the non-afflicted minds. But if we look at our mind with honesty, we will see what its natural habituation is, whether it's to go in the direction of complaining and criticizing and other forms of negativity, or whether it's on the side of virtue. We must see with clarity and with honesty what our habituation is. And this is where our work is, changing our mind away from the afflictions and towards virtue.
le ko yoba subo tangbo yoba telya an ko yiri kabla dada ne chuche gore la rwada da je go bi gimsen gare na da den machine gore shi gore ba ne desura nge ran shi ne me bar mi do war jewa ni jewa shi ne language 지상 아주 shi do ba na me ba chek ma res jewa shi lang go sin yang je chi jewa shi ling de si yo lang go re so re na ne jewa len go na jewa len se de ni ma do yo ma res Kewa yang dedro da ngandro gangro le ma des je san na ngandro le kewa yang ne den de kewa dini ke sa dini ma do yo ma des
den ko la gaba ba de sik pempe de ti
ma des es to de ngandro dedro da ngandro gangro le ma des
midro de ba du midro kewa signi lang de sik pempe
미르 계와네 랑괴데 스도아 계와네 랑고고레스 에네 계와양 덴로당 안에 난로 간로레 마데스 디바
Then we came up last time, and what we've now recapped is when we're saying applying ourselves to virtue, cultivating virtue, applying ourselves to the Dharma, giving rise to the mind to the Dharma means, in brief, changing our way of thinking so that we become habituated to thinking in a non-afflicted way. The minds that naturally arise within us are not afflicted. And these are virtuous minds. So naturally our way of thinking is not non-afflicted or not associated with afflictions. It's virtuous. Now we turn to the text. So we finished last week on page 19, so we're going to start with the last paragraph. At death, you do not simply evaporate. Death is followed by rebirth, and whether your rebirth is happy or miserable, high or low, is determined by the state of your mind at the time of death. The point that's being emphasized here is that Death doesn't bring about a destruction of our consciousness. We continue to migrate. We continue to move into a new life, a new body. But there's only one of two directions. A good rebirth, such as we've achieved now, or falling into the suffering lower realms. And that's dependent on our karma.
Geshe Thubten Rabten dendro ni ma to yo ma chesa yana ngandro le ki hore ya dendro ki mo ki hore di ma to geshe yo ma res ze de nza da de yang su do de yang le gi wang ma to ba ma to rangwan ni mes chesa di ke wa de la da na ngandro le ki ya da dendro le ki ya di ngaro so le rangwa yo ma ngandro le ki gi me dendro le ki la yo ma res ngaro so la so so ge sam la rangwa yo ma res chesa ande rangwa me ba sa di ke ya de khare wang ki ho se le gi wang ki ho res le Legi wong ki ormato sosola rayo mares soso di che wasanda mota da jiba mota la rayo ma mota tanga de ga kha ko wa ma to ngara so mota na ji ba de ta le di mota tanga na ji ba de na so denru dugu de ngandu dugu de legi di kewe le yena shu che yena denru le ke dugu re ane ngan mi kewe le shu che yena ane ngandu le ba ke dugu re mota tanga na le di mota tanga na jiba cha de ngara so chesa Nandro the Dendro ki make so solar rawa yo mares, is legi wong ma to lewang res.
When the time of death comes, there are only these two directions. And which direction we take isn't a conscious choice. It's not that we can say, I choose a human rebirth, I choose to be born as a god. No one would choose the lower realms, and this is made in this point is made in the next line. Thus, except for the power of karma, ordinary people are powerless. It's not within our hands, so to speak. It's our karma that we have accumulated that decides. So here karma can be likened to, or we can be likened to a car, and karma is likened to the driver of the car. The car has no decision over which direction it goes. When it reaches a fork in the road, it's going to go left or the car is going to go right. The car has no say in that. The driver has complete control. And here, we are likened to the car. If the negative karma we've accumulated is strongest on our continuum, rebirth will be taken in the lower realms, whether we will it or not. Likewise, if our virtue is strongest, we will take rebirth in the happy migrations. So therefore, ordinary people are said to be powerless because it's their karma that determines their rebirth.
Legi wong ma to rawa mes. Tada legi wong ma to rawa me ba na le de la khar so ne le karbe le sa na be le so le karbe le ne ki be le de la gore na be le ne mi ki be le so le de le ni yong re se ta de le do le kana ki jidar phang ba shin ki be s chisa le ka bo na na bo ni ki le ka bo di ki khar ki kawal phang ko re lam na zo ya ngandu le kya ba chi ko sa dendro le kya ba chi ko res chisa le na bo mi ki be le di ki khar ki wa chi ko sa ngandu ma kya ba chi ko chisa ngandu kyu res le mi ki be le de ngandu kyu kewe le de dendro kyu re chisa le ka na gi da phang ba shin ki ko se de ma zo le ka che ka re kewe le ki le shuk che sa wa na ma zo ya ne dendro le ki ko re ane ngandu ge mi ki be le shuk che sa yo ba na ma ane ngandu ma ki ko re chisa le ka na gi ji dar phang ba na shin ki ko ma do so so ane ra wa yo ma re so.
The text continues that they take the rebirth propelled by the force of their positive and negative karma, or the Tibetan is literally black and white karma. This means that whether one takes rebirth in a happy migration or a suffering migration is dependent on the karma that we have accumulated. Whatever is strongest on our continuum, this is going to ripen and propel a rebirth. So if we have powerful non-virtue, one will take rebirth in the suffering lower realms. If one's virtue is of great power, then it's rebirth in the happier migrations. So therefore, it's our karma, our previously accumulated karmic imprints, that determine where our next rebirth will be.
ane Geshe Mengondo Gyuna, ane Chima, ane Ngandoliki, Kasa Dendroliki Rures, Kasa Kiwi Semchondu Gyubane, the Gava, ane Chiwi, Migi Semondo Gyubana, ane Ngandol Maki Resere. Kasa di Se Chiwi Sem Chiwi, Geshe Mengondo Gyuna, ane Chima Dendrolkis, ane Chiwi, Migi Semondo Gyuna, Chima Ngandro Sumgaro Kine, Dunga Rabo Yungu
And at the bottom of the page, if at the time of death a positive thought predominates, a happy rebirth will follow. If a negative thought predominates, one is born into one of the three lower realms, where one suffers intensely.
Givi Jawa Katse Tuna Givi Lekatse, Jawa Tuna Givi Ledi, Jawa Chimale Pengore. She's a Dini and Jawa Chimalia, Mayangandoda, because the Dendrola Gia, Gandola Magiagi, Payadi, and Givi Sim, Giva di Java di Pengore. She's a Mado, Shangazu Citelia, and a Wang Chi Chimbo Yovane, Digi Yangazu, Jawa Chima, Masona Madoji, Dendrolia, Yagi, Pandochi to Mare, Sedelia, Gejo Madubaje. Benjo Chembo Gaze, Yobene, and Digi, and Pink Mares, and the Wanji Chembo, Sosolia, and the Yapur, Shuk Chembo, Punyada, Ninyedo, Bambu Yobene, and Digi, and Kiwachima, Mandrol Madoji, Dendrol Joel, Pantu Mares. Says, and this Yum to Tijuayomar, so she do Yum to Tiayomar, Gugatze, and Kiayomar, Wanjigas and Kiayomar, Robogas and Tiayomar, so then I'm so to get the number Shepa, Chiburo, right, Mother Joyomares. 제사당 개념도 줘야 돼 가르쳐고서는 아주 개화까지 제나 개화디 아주 가리 제반에 개화 제바디 아주 넘버 10에도 바샤스 샤요 제사 진이 좋아서 아주 개화디 임도 기르어요 진짜 디버 가서 사회에 디비기 바샤샤 디버디 임도 기르어 제사 개화데 디버 같이 제변에 디마뇽도 두고 다가 뉴바디 조샤기로 제사 디기 견지는 아주 개위 자와 뉴바 가서 유네 덴돌이야 줘야다 아니 미기 제비 뉴바 가서 숙체나 안 간돌 줘야기 디차고로 제사 디니자 시위에 제 파야 최마도 요 말에서 디레다 치위에 먼저 덴돌 마도 그래서 간돌 마케와지 덴돌이야 줘야기 탑시 팽긴디 최다된 아주 마시비 녀래 개주주야 개와 제반은 디기 팽거로 마도 샹강기야 개와 마도 바제 아니 왕체다 아니 저기 디가르여베는 디기 판투고 말해야지 최마도 시베죠 최마도 미판세 디세월다
When our time of death does come, and these two paths lie before us, either to remain in the happy migrations or falling into the lower realms, then if we turn to the material wealth that we've accumulated in this life for support and assistance at this time of peril, it cannot help us. If we turn towards our friends, our loved ones, our companions, no matter how much we care for each other, they cannot help us either at that time. If we utilize all the power and the influence that we had in our life, that too cannot help us at the time of death. None of those can assist us in choosing the path of a happy migration or the direction of a happy migration. The direction of our next rebirth is determined by the karma that we have accumulated in this life. The strength of the virtuous imprints on our continuum or the non-virtuous imprints on our continuum. It's these that will determine our next rebirth. And this is because what goes to our next life is only our mental continuum accompanied by our imprints, our karmic imprints, our wealth, our power and influence and prestige, and our loved ones all remain in this life, around this corpse. None of it can accompany us. What does accompany us is these imprints. These imprints, these karmic imprints on our continuum, they accompany us to our next life. And whatever amongst them is strongest determines the direction at the time of death. So thinking like this, makes it abundantly clear that whatever activities we are engaged in, must be very aware of the mind that is engaging these activities, whether it is a mind of the Dharma, a mind that is not in the direction of the afflictions but in the direction of virtue, that we're engaging in activities with unafflicted minds. In this way we're accumulating virtue, we're accumulating virtuous causes, positive causes that we'll take with us into our next life. Nothing but these imprints, these virtuous imprints, will be of benefit to us at the time of death and in our next rebirth.
manzu denju miluru mo che se thoya delia ane dawa ke dan jo chu sangwa del pe gyu mongbo sa go gorwa gyu ane churim so ya da jimba da seba da an zunju ka so le zunju nyam ne che ba di denju nyam no ma che ba na ane nga ju gi denju miluru mo che de top tu go ma wa pe ne ju gi churim ya bo so mo ne milu ke ba ne nyama jimba da me na ya pe ju ye ga ma ane ya ji ge ondu che ne svebinyamne chemena tene a zunjiyamne mejebaina ane kewala ane chigi dunyer muyo yungurwa tene sanga zugi dadanga zu danju milirimbo che stala ane dawa kieda jo ju sangwa di chöpke sangwa di ludin tobala ane gyudeleya be masigi gyulela wa satugo gyudi sayala kale khaboza danju milirimbo topkawa rela topkawa mi kepsin galsin di gyusayala kale khabores 제가 규사에 깔래 가고 인자 톱가와래 해서로 제가 규디 레라용의 제부디 레라용으로 제가 되네 인자 denju 밀리르뭐 제 첨보나 자 첨보 제가 denju 밀리르뭐 된 데라 아니 랑기 디기 주야 있나다 셴이 랑기 누가세 있나 베지치 투바다 아니 셴레 페버 주야다 셴이 누가 세야다 셴이 디기 주야나 된디 투바 제가 된 데라 denju 밀리르뭐 제 된 데라 양아저기 개와치마 하나 미고바 토베기 네 교화사야 된 땐데라 사투고래 탈비 고방 토비하기 람냠len 제하기 교화사베네 땐데라 사투고래 산지 고방 토야기 돈달아야 아니 제기조 사베네 아주 땐데라 지투고래 진짜 밀리르모 땐데라 지투고 되다 되네서 된주 밀리르모 사야데 자 침보시나 시우 예침보래 삼다야디 되네래와
근데 되네 지 거면서 dene kene di gyuki kola sungtu dene kadang sutu nyapa suna yene jimpa
miliyone jimpa matana gyorwa miliyone gyorchaga
dema se kadang shempa sungpin pe pena
tadina jin ruwa de sweba de swe nyamle ma yago ma jebana ji wangbo ma sangwa da yang jimi sui thona ma khwa chaya da ne ji di ngura zunju nyamle yago chemena nyama chöje ge zunju gi chemena da de gewa chebala ne dewa mewa yungorwa anyama ma zuge ta molam yago Gyatso 하다미 고바 델레 최제 냠레 약보 용어 쇼스비기 몰람 담메바이나 아니가 저 최제라 고갑리아 다른 거 최고로 디네사 디니기 규사야 델레 단주밀로 좀 토바들 규디 약보 사고야데 예치모레 사디시고로
Atisha. Having engaged in the reflection thus far, then one gives rise to the wish to utilize what remains of this life very, very well. And to add strength to this, we're combining this reflection on the impermanence of this life with the previous reflection on the preciousness of this human rebirth. So you remember from those meditations, we looked at the 18 qualities that mark a human rebirth as being precious. If all 18 are achieved like they have been for ourselves, then it's called a fully endowed human rebirth with the 18 freedoms and opportunities. And in that same meditation, we reflected that in order to achieve all 18 of these qualities, so many causes were accumulated in our past lives to have this incredible opportunity that we have now. And with this understanding, we remind ourselves of the causes that have to be accumulated in order to have a human rebirth that is a suitable basis for practice. So we know that it's ethical conduct, this mind of restraint, that is the primary cause that leads to the result of a rebirth in a happy migration as a human or god. But if one, no matter how well one guards one's ethics, but if one doesn't engage in other practices, one will struggle to be able to call the resulting rebirth as a human or god as a precious rebirth. For example, if one doesn't practice generosity, whilst being born as a human, one will be impoverished, one will struggle to have the required material conditions in order to be able to commit oneself to Dharma practice. Furthermore, if one is not patient and thereby accumulating those causes, but one is ethical, one achieves a human rebirth, but one's sense powers will be impaired, and also one will not have harmonious relationships with others. One will have a lot of conflicts with others. And if one doesn't accumulate the causes, the cause of joyous perseverance, then in one's future lives one will not be naturally inclined towards virtue. And therefore one whilst having a human rebirth, not being disinclined towards virtue, one is going to engage much more freely in non-virtue. And the fifth cause, which was that of making prayers and aspirations, if that is missing, then in our future lives, when we're experiencing the ripening results of good ethical conduct and we achieve a human rebirth, we will struggle to meet the Dharma. We'll struggle to meet a spiritual teacher and have aspiration to receive teachings and to receive them and to reflect and meditate effectively on them. So therefore, here, having given rise to a commitment, a strong wish to apply ourselves to virtue, we add to that strength by reminding ourselves of the vast number of causes that have to be accumulated in order to achieve a precious human rebirth. And again, applying what we had meditated on in this previous topic, one of the reasons that the human rebirth, this precious human rebirth, is so rare is because of how difficult it is to accumulate all these causes. And here, the next point we add to this reflection is how important it is to have this human basis, this human rebirth, because all our Dharma goals depend on having such a rebirth. We need such a basis for spiritual development in order to accumulate further causes for further good rebirths, accumulate causes for liberation if that's our goal, accumulate the causes for enlightenment if that's our goal. In other words, to be of great benefit for self and others in this and future lives, we have to keep accumulating the causes to achieve this rebirth such as this.
Denegi jeba la tene nga su lutin cheba chene da nga su top de ro che toba di jewa nga ma gi geshe duba la tene da de dendrol ke ro che sa da ji de dendrol ke gyu de la gewa ma to mi gi ki tu ma la ro che sa nga su gewa nga ma ga sa di gi nga su gi gewa nyamne de shu che je di be jawa shu chung wa jawa sa nga se de ya de ju mi lu ma top nga su le che che ya go gap ane je ke ge jo sa ya bo ra de ro da. Going through
these meditations again and again, we appreciate ever more what we are experiencing in this life, what we have achieved. And we have achieved this independent on the virtue that we accumulated in our past lives. And this is important to reflect on, because it means we have done this before. Therefore, we should have the confidence that we can do it again. There's a vast array of causes that have to be accumulated in a powerful fashion to achieve a result that is ideal for spiritual development. We have done before. And we are the living proof of that. We are experiencing the result of that. So this reflection gives us courage, because we know we can apply ourselves ever more to virtue, turning our minds away from the afflictions, so we become habituated that we naturally think in a way that's separated from the afflictions. Because we've practiced well like this in the past and we're experiencing those results now.
Legi Wangmado and Gyawachimangandro Joyada and Dendril Kiala Rawa Yomares, the Legi Wangmada Rawa Yomarava, Dedi Karasi in Shivi Kapla Siorda, Shidi Kapla, Mazula Oda, Mazuki, Legi Kawa, Savan and Del Joya Mado, then I did draw the Rawa Yomare. Dadan Azula, Rawa Yutuba, Rawa Yore, Chazan Azuki, Dendril Joyagi, Dan, Mandu Joyadi, Kawa Joe, you made it, Tasu Jedi, Dadan Azula Yudibare. Chazan Azula, Tasu Jeba, Azu Yudiba Inza, and the Karchior Lamna Azuki, that did not church in the Dadan to Chesadi, Chazan Dadan Azuki, Chazanga, Kiwachima. Dendril doing androls out in the Tugmias and be a sosolia, Sambanala di Tachuvena, Chizang Dendril Dragi, Gudis Ahores, Chizang Androla Drag Gudipa, Gahores, Yomas Gahores, what is that? Geotukures at Disigora.
Looking again at the text at the bottom of the 19th page, in the middle of this paragraph, there's an important line. Thus, except for the power of karma, ordinary people are powerless. So here what I want to emphasize to you, because it's imperative that there's no doubt about this line, is that this is entirely true, but at the time of death. We're in the context of the impermanence of life, death and impermanence. So this line is correct, but applies to the situation at the time of death of an ordinary person. An ordinary person at the time of death is powerless. Their karma is what determines the next rebirth. Us now, between now and when our time of death comes, we do have power. We do have choice. We have the ability within our hands to choose which direction we want to go in. Or to express that in a more literal way, we have the ability to transform our minds in a direction away from the afflictions. And in this way, the more we develop our way of thinking, so that we become habituated to thinking only in virtuous ways, in ways where the afflictions are weak, we create ever more powerful virtue. And this is something that we have. There's power, there's ability, we do have within our hands. We are not powerless. So therefore, by committing to accumulate the causes that lead to good rebirth as well as our other spiritual goals, we're committing to guard our mind and ensure it's always going in the direction away from the afflictions and towards virtue.
Lam Rim Text Dalai Mado Nyamlin Darawa, Chizangan Tambone, Shugania, Singazu Lanyo, and the Dampo Jamro Che, the Kichimacha, Jamro, Conjo Sum, and then San Yu Concho, Chu Concho, Kidun Concho, and the Kori Dunga, Ninga Son, Kori Dunga, Tadala Dragi, Gyobi, Nubadi, Sukuburis, Conjo Sum, Gyoguri, Sampigeda, Conjo Sum Shan, Gyopkangi, Conjo Sum Shampigeda. Gyopkanchi Kaya Yomares, Chizan Conjo Sum Chibures, Conjo Sum Gyoguri, Sampigi, the Yishe, Zama, Chiche, that Delokibi, Nubadi Conjo Sum, Gyoguri, Sampida, Conjo Sum Lia, and Yishe, and that Dirina Panga, Kari, Ineda, Conjo Sum, the Shan, some Taya Kaya Sabigeda, Conjo Sum Lia Japsutone, Diabazi Jadi, and the Jamrosivity. Consciously yi chebe anzu andreda dunga tada lo kibe nyuba de consciously yore sebe yi chebe yi chede sem dingini ya anike adi jamro se ora de tiene da anzu consciously gi la jamro se se adi ye chimo chawa chiza.
At this point, when one has committed with sincerity to strive to ensure that our mind goes away from afflictions and is always on the side of virtue, one turns one's attention to the three jewels and goes for refuge. And here we're utilizing a refuge, we're going for refuge at this point in the meditation with a clear awareness that it's only the three jewels that are able to provide one with protection from the sufferings of samsara. If one reflects all of how suffering pervades cyclic existence in its entirety, that there's nowhere within samsara where one can be freed of pain and difficulty, one then turns towards the three jewels, knowing that it's only the three jewels that have the ability to guide one in the development of the minds of freedom, the minds that are freed from the afflictions. And therefore the three jewels and the three jewels alone can provide that protection. So here it's important that with sincerity from the depths of one's heart, one turns with trust towards the three jewels.
Lam Rim that Dangbo that che Dangbo Nyamlin Jehana and Dangbo Azuki Kibu Jing that Chempo dollar some Damatung and Dele, Dangbo Kibu Chumugi, Mason Dele Tahudu, Dele Tane, and Hadamiko to send big some Chagua, the Chagore, and then to get that Chikilam Rim Mambo Chik Yaman Sar Mamutisa Nian Cao and Za, and the Karasam Dangors and Jazadang or two chin down walk around to some dash and Ajigorwada. Jazadunga Tadala to be new conjusum, conjus Jubri, some big, some of the Yichi Deba Jeju conjusum. Dizange, Dini in Zang, Dang, Rang, Dang, Shan, Simja, Tamju Dunga Jobadi conjusum Jubri, Jazadini in Zang, Ranshan Sama, Dang, Dunga Mitubare, and Dewa Tubare, Jazan, Dewa Tubanajin, Dewa Tubu, Jazan, that Ranshan Samagi. Me and Narang, the Shan Samala Panto Dubala, and then Cabachi Milimuchi Togu, just a Milimuchi Matobana, and Jawada Arangi, Samja, Tamjig Dondalia, Dungasia, the Digi Tuyalia, me and the Chipampachi Marun Tapunu, Pampa Tugi, and be some Lashita, what did some Darwada, Setelia, Sosorangi, Dewa Tuba Dumamiduba, Jeza, Dungasia, the Digi Tuyalia, the Chigi, the Zange Samja, Tamjig Dondala. Dunga Digi Tuyalia, and Sanjo Mamatun the Tabinu, Sambiki, Janshu Simki, some Denish Samestan. Denish sometime done, and then you Denig sometimes say Chela, Chesada, meet Sedelia, and the Sanjo Tobalaya, and the Din Cabrachan Kubur, Chesa, Sedele and Din Cabrachan Mombaine, and she and the Pemba Duela, Din Cabrachan Kubures, Chesa Dineza, Ranshan Samagi, Dunga Sea, and Digi Tuyalia. The Cabajan Matuna Taminu, Deza, Simjan Tamjig Dondala, and the San Yokoba Togodi, Zangi, and Jimbe Yamle, Sujin Yamle, Subin Yamle, the Oda, but the Chins and big some of the Yane and the Chadi, Denigi, Simjan Tamjig Donda San Yokoba to be Chidu, in some Tashavana, Kuno, the Janjusim Charu, right? Janjusim Chane, then I'm going to get that Jimbe Yamle, Sujin Yamle, Subin Yamlen, and Zunjig Yamlen Gang to the Chiodu. And Sujim Yaman Jebigi, Yawachima Miko to Guachagore, and Tarbada San Yugo to be Guchagore, and Jimbada, Jimbi Yamlendigi, and Seteda, Yawachima, the Gidi Nation, the Pemba Dubigi, and the Tungi, and the Sauce Ayachagore, and the Subin Yamlendigi, and Seti, Nada, Yawachima, Nada Gidi Nation, Pemba Dualia, Sosugi, Lunga, Wombo Sawa, and then Sosulia, Shandy Tubalea, and the Pembu, Nuba Duptu Gorwa, Zenzuni Yaman Jeodu, and it said in that Yawachima in Nata Miko to be Den Delia, Givis, Jawalia, Yane, and the Jag, Dumba, Dunya, and then Ligorwa, Denenza, and this so Denigo Kunela Janga Zugi, Gunon, Keshutubaina, that Chasan Dubungora, Chasan Charogora.
Song den ik onder Yankar, die Chansu Senpai ki Jawa, den die Jawa Shi, die Shi, Drukmare.
And the Druk June, the Druk, then get the Jiba, the Sherwatan.
And the Lam Rim Text, the practice of refuge is included in those practices that are shared with a being of small capacity, which means whether a practitioner, whatever capacity a practitioner has, whether it's initial, intermediate, or great, they need to rely on the practice of refuge. So you would have heard many times before the teachings on the practice of refuge. But it's one of great importance, so I'll mention it here now in brief. Here one turns one's mind to the three jewels, developing a firm conviction or trust in them. Trust in them that it's the three jewels that, and the three jewels alone, that can guide one to cultivate protection from suffering. And not just protection from suffering for myself, but all beings, because like each another ordinary sentient being, I desire happiness and to be freed from suffering. I long for happiness and freedom from suffering. And so only the three jewels who can truly provide the techniques that lead to freedom of suffering and that lead to lasting, stable happiness. And how this meditation then on refuge ties into what we're looking at here, because the preceding meditations are death and impermanence, which is preceded by precious human rebirth, is that understanding that this preciousness of this opportunity that we've achieved is impermanent, and we have committed to at least the concept of needing to accumulate the causes for further ongoing good rebirths. But here in the practice of refuge, because we are in the context of the Mahayana Dharma, we include the cultivation of bodhicitta. So when we recognize that it's only the three jewels that can provide us the guidance so that we can achieve freedom from suffering, and that this isn't something only that's applicable to me, but for each and every sentient being who also, like me, desires happiness and freedom from suffering, we then start with the cultivation of bodhicitta, thinking that others are like me, lost in the suffering oceans of samsara, seeking liberation, desiring to be guided in the attainment of liberation. And in order for me to assist beings in achieving their liberation, I have to have good rebirth followed by good rebirth. I need to continue to achieve good rebirths. And therefore, I commit for the sake of others to act in accordance with the teachings of the Dharma jewel, which means I commit to ensuring that my mind is always not in the direction of the afflictions, but in the direction of virtue. And in this way, I ensure I don't bring any harm to myself through accumulation of non-virtue, and I don't harm others through acting under the influence of the afflicted minds. So for myself and others I take refuge, and this means I will act in accordance with the example of the three jewels and act in accordance with their example, benefiting all beings. Here in this way we generate the mind of bodhicitta, striving for enlightenment for their sake, committing to utilize what remains of this life to spiritually progress, and not just for the sake of happiness in this life, but for life to life, and not just for our own sake, but so that we can be of ever greater benefit to others, and not add to the burden of their pain. So in this way, we generate bodhicitta, and in this way, this generation of bodhicitta is closely linked to the meditations on the precious human rebirth and death and impermanence. And it concludes here, or the points that follows from here, is that having taken refuge in the three jewels and committed to living as an example of their teachings, I will engage in their practices, which means I'll develop an ethical outlook and ensure that my mind is always ethical. In other words, it's not in the direction of the afflictions, but of virtue. Moreover, I will develop a generous outlook, a wish to give. I'll ensure that I'm always patient in the face of adversity, whether the adversity comes from others or my own inner turmoil, or when engaging in Dharma practices. I will generate the mind of joyous perseverance, delighting in living a virtuous life, delighting in living a life of meaning, delighting in living a life that brings benefit to others. Moreover, I'll also engage in the practices of concentration and wisdom, all so that I can be of ever greater benefit to others through this ongoing process of spiritual development.
Dine ane ada tsedelia ane kyawa chima nga sonam mi jawa che tarje dendrole to matun tabminu sembeda jisan gyawachima hadami ku matun tabminu sembe titopaji sembe samloshita tene nibe dela sumba dela 다 타다미 고바 토와 점제 지기미도 제사 다 코비기 동안 녀모바 차상바베 탈바세 토고도와 시선 탈바마도나 타다미 고바 토와 점제 지기미야 냐자 동안 마 녀야게 타다미레 동안 뭐야 제사 동안 차사 네 탈비 탈바세 토고도 선배게 삼라시다 지선 탈바세 토고도 마도는 지기미도 선배게 디토바 지기 세베 삼라다로 나다 되는 시바들이야 다 탈바스인데 랑세야데 지부레 제자 현세야데 심전 타야바죠 심전 탐제 지금 랑이 탈바 톱제 심전 탐제 강하나 홍도메데다 직사 말에 가서 심전 탐제 랑레 진치보레 게든치보 제장에 심전 탐지기 둥아세야다 디기두야레 판별지 마루네 탐메 제자 심전 탐지 둥아세야 디기두야데 지기 판별 주기 선비 삼단에 되는 잠니제 삼단 되는 대장이 semja 탐지기 되는 상계고마 토구도 마도는 탐미노 sembe 삼다 상계고마 토바쇼 sembe 자주심 삼다도 군노 림바마선 군노 림바로 되는 삼단 와다 다 되는 탐지기 되는 상계고마 토바쇼 삼단에 되는 저기 다 고미아들이야 아니 디리 류마 예수님께네 아니 샹레 네베 자와서 자오이네 지금이 새벽에 아니 네베릭 차상 지금이 새벽에 삼려야 주름 디사미아디 주름에다 제가 누우시네 삼다야다 아니 다 데니게다 류롱주 강게 찬에 샹레 펜비기 샹야 야권절에 최고 부야래 샹 아니 샹레 펜보두야 달라 류마 예수님 롱주 차상 샹레 펜보 두긴 삼백에 당긴 삼백에 데니게 삼로지 야 지금 고미하다 안 되네 자다야 최고 검사야디 다시 샹기 양라 뇌버 제배 있네 파 셈마 주버 제바 뇌레 뇌빌렌리아 뇌버 균의 지금이스 술 뇌버 제배는 디일렌리아 펜바까지 두두두 두기스 제마동이 파 뇌버세의 자오인의 지금이 선배습니다 다양 샹기 된다려야 아니 지게 동아세 디기두야랑아 깔레 가주이나 이 깔레 자기인 선배게 깔레 가지나 강아디 마셈 바징이 강아디 가 지긴 선배습니다 당이 최제야려 아니 계주두야려 류세 심 강아 같이 예배네 강아디레 세체가 냠내 야고 지긴 선배 삼다는 디네기 지긴 선배가도 삼다 들어와도 어두시네 삼다 고미야들이 곰 수비냐면 다 준비냐면서도 다 기회 자와 제야다 랑기 지기 샹기 디기주야 동아세기 도날 샹레 펜버주야 자와 제발 빼면서 야보래 다 디네데 가제 제야라나 지긴 선배 삼다 아니 소소라는 게다 계주 주야다 디네기 개와 샹레 컨트롤 추고 부야 소소라는 게다 지 계주 가리 돈을 빼 야보래다 디네지 기디 있나 제야라는 지긴 선배게다 야보래 섬제 디네 준비기야 두두치네 준비 바도 기야데 안 디네인자 안델이야 주나 내가 저기 띵이지 삼대 소수계 계획 자와가래치는 델 제지도 미제 아니 셈마요제 대랑 삼다 제가 저기 자주 셈 고미아래 제 돈이기 따와 고미아 삼다래 아니 아직 컨트롤이야 겸로 삼단 제가 제지도 제는 제지도 내제 가제 뒤도도 돼야다 안도시네 수림 소야이네다 징이 심자 탐제 신여봐서 자와 지금에 선배 삼로들은 다제야 띵이진 삼다야다 디네게 삼다야기 당한 저기 신이 마서 토요마데 마토베이네 디네 강투도 제주도 뒤에 되야 저기 삼대 차로와 삼대래 롭정 차로와 곰지지고로 아 디네 자야 지금 저기 제바지야를 셰랍스도 지당 삼대네 셰랍실라 송대 시고를 디네 당한 저기 셰랍 다음에 봐야 돼 간이에서 넘미와 저기 다음에 거 삼다야다 네 미다바 거 삼다야다 디네 셴리야 판바투나 소소를 개와다 개주주반에 셴라 판도 용다 아니 직강알에 타당도 세안에 양도 제바제바이나 돼서 아니 셰랍 차로와 셰랍 차로
그런데 셰랍이 권한게 거통성
셰랍란에 제바치야 들어와 진짜 미다바세 기지기지도 치와 미다바에 삼고 삼다야다 권주의 연된 삼다야다 그래서 디네디네 제바차네 셰랍 차고래 지난 넘겨가도 셰랍세야디 제바치야 되고와 계주를 제바 다야 다등한 저기 파진 두기 냠내니고 셰랍이 냠내세도 돈유도 배 셰랍 실락송대들 시고래 다등한 저기 실락송대들 끼요 말에 마지도 당한 소리야 미다바다 동반이 거도 삼다네 야네도 니 김전 삼다 제바제바나 내 셰랍을 냠면지야로 뭐야 로데 타녀 주고로 와
this. Meditation that I'm describing here, one can do quite quickly, especially when one doesn't have much spare time. You can do it as just a very quick meditation where you recite the points or read through the points of your notes, and if that's all you have time for, it's still worth doing. Where you do have a bit more time, perhaps on a day off, then you can sit and spend more time reflecting on each of the points. And here, if we're starting from the point of refuge, then we're doing it with so as to give rise to the commitment to strive for ongoing good rebirths, because it's only with having such a basis of a human rebirth that we can continue with our spiritual progression, especially if we want to attain the most exalted of goals. So progressing from the meditation on refuge, we commit to striving for, at the very least, a good rebirth as a human or God. But we should then take our meditation further and reminding ourselves that whilst this human rebirth that we have is a rebirth with tremendous potential, and it's a rebirth that has the potential to achieve great goals. If one merely aspires just to achieve a similar opportunity again, then one can be sure that one will continue to engage or to experience sufferings that are similar to have been experienced now in this life. Here we reflect how suffering pervades the human experience. There's nowhere within the human realm or even the God realms, in fact anywhere in samsara, that is freed of pain and suffering. Samsara itself, every rebirth and experience, is pervaded by suffering. And this then leads us to a mind of disenchantment with regard to samsara, seeing that there's nothing worthy of aspiring to as a goal in itself within samsara. And reminding ourselves that on this basis of the precious human rebirth, we have the potential to achieve something truly phenomenal. And it's this way we come to give rise to the wish for liberation, to achieve liberation from suffering. And when that has been generated in our meditation, we take that realization then and apply it to the situation of others. Because this desire to be freed of pain and difficulty is shared by everyone around us. Those that we know directly or we don't know in this life, all beings share this desire to be free of pain and difficulty. And that thought is the basis that we develop then in our meditation to give rise to love and compassion in the way that has been presented many times in the past. Developing the mind of love, the wish for others to be freed the wish for others to experience happiness, and the mind of compassion, wishing for them to be freed of suffering. And we develop these to the point where bodhicitta itself arises in our continuum. So what we're doing here, because I'm just mentioning these 3 steps briefly, but the purpose of having gone for refuge, then reflecting on the need for another good rebirth, then reflecting on the sufferings of samsara to give rise to the wish for liberation, and then thirdly, generating bodhicitta, is to keep strengthening our mind. Strengthening our mind. In fact, the very first steps, from thinking of the preciousness of this human rebirth, death and impermanence, and so forth, right up to here, it's always about strengthening our mind, giving power to our way of thinking. Because the stronger our mind is, the stronger our commitment is, the easier it is to turn away from these deeply ingrained habitual patterns which are in accordance with afflicted minds. Because these are difficult habit patterns to break. We have strong familiarity with them. So the stronger the aspiration we've given rise to, the more sincere this aspiration is to live a life of great meaning, the easier we'll find it to be consistent in turning away from being influenced by these afflictions. So that's the purpose of all these reflections. And then we can come to the meditation on the actual practices of the bodhisattvas, the 6 perfections. So as beginners, we can engage in this. I'd suggest you engage in it in the following way. So the first mind is the mind of ethics. So here, in brief, it's a commitment not to harm others. The easiest understanding is the commitment to not physically harm others. Slightly subtler is to take control of our speech, take responsibility for our speech, and not to engage in speech that brings harm. But where this all comes down to is taking responsibility for our mind. The practice of ethical conduct, this mind of restraint, in its briefest form, or its essence, is to ensure that our mind is separated from the afflictions, and in that way our mind is virtuous, and that is the practice of ethics. When the mind is not afflicted, the mind is not going in the direction of the afflictions. And in brief, the practice of ethics is the commitment not to harm, and that therefore includes even afflicted thoughts, harmful thoughts, thoughts that bring harm even just to oneself. Then one moves the meditation onto that of generosity, where here, this private cultivated mind of love and compassion, which has now been expressed through the commitment not to harm others, we now express it through the wish to be of benefit to others. We think about the opportunities that we may encounter in the day ahead, where we can bring benefit. And we maybe give aspiration to meet have additional opportunities to bring benefit to others, whether it's utilizing our resources, our skills, our talents, our way of speaking, our physical body. All that we have, we commit to using skillfully to ease the burden of suffering of others, to bring, even if it's only temporary relief to others, to do so. And then we take our reflection to that of patience. Here, by this point, this great strength of mind is suitable for the cultivation of the mind of patience, where we can reflect on the day ahead and where we may encounter difficulties, whether it's with other people and situations where afflictions may arise, or in terms of our own inner turmoil, where we know that certain things which in our daily life, they disturb our mental peace. And here we reflect on patience, how we can keep our mind undisturbed, and rather have developed in this meditation the skill, so that whatever problem we encounter, I won't allow those afflictive minds to overcome me, to overwhelm me, but rather to deal with the difficulty skillfully, whether that difficulty is from an interaction with someone else, or my own inner turmoil, or in engaging in Dharma practice. My practice of patience will ensure that these afflictions are eliminated. I don't allow them to overwhelm me. And fourthly, reflect on joyous perseverance, generating great delight in the meditation. If this meditation is going well, this is easy to give rise to, because we can feel evolution within us, we can feel development within us. And we know that the great beings, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, are aware of this ordinary being slowly transforming themselves into someone extraordinary. And in this way we develop that strength of mind ever further. And this is imperative because as we embark later in our activities, laziness does come. Laziness in terms of not dealing skillfully with the afflictions, because sometimes it feels easier not to. So this comes with joyous perseverance. And then the fifth one of concentration, that the way to cultivate this here for practitioners such as ourselves is all of these preceding points. When you feel an arousal of a realization or an emotion arising within you, hold that in an undistracted way. Because this serves two purposes. One, it strengthens your familiarity with that virtuous mind that you have generated. And two, strengthens your familiarity with concentration. And in this way, through slowly doing this, these preceding meditations again and again, holding each realization single-pointedly, In this way we create the basis so that later it will be much easier for us to develop actual calm abiding. And then the sixth practice, that of wisdom, so that usually refers to the wisdom realizing emptiness, and then one can reflect on emptiness through dependent arising. Or if one's not confident with one's knowledge in that area, reflect on impermanence. Because there are many, to understand wisdom, we need to realize that there are many different types of wisdom. Wisdom in its briefest, or the easiest way to understand it, it means analysis or thinking, analyzing. So all these previous meditations were analytical, so these were cultivating our wisdom. And so in that way, we could say, I've already strengthened my wisdom, or here one can specifically meditate on impermanence. So this is a meditation that I'd encourage you to do when you can make some time and go through this meditation, familiarize yourself with all of these vital points.
나 데니게 다 주스로 중요하마도 돈으로지 제가 데니게 차상 삼다야를 주스 매나는 가지고 당고 권조스나 점도 삼다 데네 네네 샘제 탐제 삼다선 이거로 샘제 대화 템바 동한데 자고 디인장에서 동한테다 디게세알이야 이 지기 디인장에 샘제 탐상요고 뭐 토부도 샘비게 토벌쇼스 매장주 샘 삼다 데니게 삼다네 데리는 이 샤리아 펜베자와 강톡지도 지긴 셈베다 군노 자주쌤 삼단에 되는 저기 류하게 주름숭에 세 대신 림바샤바 나시 온도신 삼다샤베는 그 가실에 자주쌤이 심비권에 제바는 자식 개화나는 초도 기와 차살 당조 디래.
I recognize though that for most here, one doesn't have the opportunity to engage in an extensive meditation like this on a daily basis yet, because life is busy with many activities and responsibilities. So in such a case, I would encourage you though each day to engage in a meditation on refuge, even if it's just brief. Engage in a reflection on the sufferings of samsara, even if it's just brief. And after that, just creating the awareness that all beings want to be free of pain and suffering. Everyone I meet today, and everyone I interact with, whether directly or indirectly, is no different from me. We all share this wish, and I commit to easing their burden. I commit to not making their life more difficult, but easing their burden. And in this way, through this connection that I create with them later, when I do become a skilled practitioner, I will be able to have a truly beneficial impact on their lives. So this is a brief way to generate bodhicitta, and it's followed then by an ever stronger commitment not to harm today, but only to be of benefit.
군로림바 삼다두 삼다야레 지사다 semje 담지 돈 산요 고방 토벌 지긴 디체도 다 계절 주기세 때 계절 될 양한 쪽에 답변에 전주 셈고야 돈요 공야 진배다 대진일 셔바는 파진 주기 냠는 제야레 니 멤베게 당한 쪽에 가서래다 샤당 셜야 계절한 쪽에네 지기 매니 제 semje 담지게 돈 달라 semje 중화세 디기 두고 뒤에 심장 산요고방 토벌쇼 선배 대체도 네 안에 매니 당에 심지 바바 젠지슬야 안에 소화대 매니 당기 제사 두두 심네 매니 당바이나 안에 매인디 당배 판연디 나기 권에 매니디 템비게 나기 판연 삼로나리아 안에 제야 안상예당 권조 젠데 바바 젠데시 야 점토 대바제비게 이기 개와 then this labege da chawaro chitene chichebana da ane lagi temo jawa da andusene jebaina an luji kewa lunga yisum yogone kewa sagore dian kullo semje tamji de sanjo ko ba tobo sho se be chanju semji simba inza taba chibu chu nyammen chagore jizam.
And then to either this very brief meditation that I've just mentioned or the more extensive one before, if one wishes, then one can conclude with some mantra recitation. So one has generated refuge as well as the mind of enlightenment in both of these meditations. Then one turns to, as an object of refuge and trust and reliance, the three jewels and the aspect of Chenrezig, of Arya Chenrezig. And here one generates a great trust and conviction in Chenrezig, joins one's palms together in supplication, so thereby engages in a physical virtuous act. The mind is already turned with refuge and trust and commitment, refuge and trust to Chenrezig, so therefore one has already created mental virtuous karma. And then using one's mala, one can recite some mantra. And in that way, with speech, one also creates virtue. And this is what perhaps one can say a classic practice of the Mahayana, where one is going to a deity such as Chenrezig with a mind of refuge and trust, and thereby physically and verbally as well as mentally engaging in the accumulation of virtue.
Zada semja tamje ge don do sanjo ko wa thobe chidu yin semja namje dewa de demba de dunga da dai chidu yin samne anga ju ge tik kora lu yu kora ya da cha che ya da de ne anga ju ge chebo phu ya ben me do phu ya da ane yan cha phu ya da chemo phu ya boe phu ya ane ji ge san yi yi 我们就故事想呀，当确认想呀，当俺那故事这个这样这个他话里啊，也是怎么去啊？当就是个嘞前面呢，就是下上午呢，台北前面去采过了，上九个帮推就采过，就在这里上，那多当了呀，本来上九故乡别攀援，确定下边攀援，恰次攀援，等到过了攀援。 这的那个别些啊，准备个送啊，对的，别些对个朋友，把都买了送下来，我们这车上上九个帮特别个采个这些，这样就给的那个朋友现呢，现菜买的就忙不修园，多拿鱼忙不拿了送下来。
Bendigo sung ini chakpa gyap desung du de nangla samaso yamane pe
chacha tarina so chugi na na chilo be chode da de ne ge kunda yo sa de je zama de de chasan di ro.
And then with this mind of enlightenment, this wish to be of greatest benefit to all sentient beings, this wish to be, or this commitment to strive for enlightenment in order to become the most skilled of guides, then one can engage in further virtuous activities. So we mentioned the recitation of mantra, one can do circumambulation, prostrations, make offerings such as flowers and water bowls, perhaps clean one's shrine and other holy objects, whatever it may be. The texts, both sutras and tantras, are full of practices such as these. What makes them the practices of the Mahayana is not the physical application, but it's the mental application that physical activity is done by. So that's where the primary focus is, and then one, with such a mind manifest, one can engage in circumambulation, offerings and so forth, and accumulate huge stores of virtue.
Kunong Janju Simji, the Penny Sambi Gunela Shaba Inza, Julia Ho, Doda, Xingdang, Dawa, Sedang, Udang, Karashubine, Anji Jibares, China Payan Jibo Toguris, Sosuki Kunong, Payan Jibo Toguris, which is a George in Shingi Church in Chunju, George Pena Church in the Nampeche, and a Shudi Gabla and the Church in the Shashi and Dusu Koranangor, Koratagors, Koranangor, Chizan Nangors, who do Chizan Payan Bottom Yorwa, and then some several machine, Denigi Simshad, Wadenigi, Kido, Jok, Chad in a Kuru, that Church in Shashin, then Dusun Koranangdua, Chizan Payan Bottom Yunguris, Chizan Dineza. Ki Java Samlot and Kuno, and Semi Kunia, Shadan, Shula, Kawat, Duelia, Diso, Pecora, Minita, Duelia, this Lela, Vada, Yajic Tony Comsada, Chanjo Sem Comsada, Yajic Jiggy, Najo Comsada, and the Sud Chanea, to Scalecada, Dinegi, and Gomia, Yajic, Calecaro, Shorwada. What I'm encouraging you here to do is, in this time that we are apart,
where you can engage in you have time to engage in extensive meditation. I've given some advice. Where you don't have that time but can engage in shorter meditation, I've given some advice. And the advice here now is also for when you don't have time to do any meditation. Generate bodhicitta as well as you can. And this is so important. And then you can engage in other virtuous activities like has just been mentioned. But I want to emphasize the importance of the motivating mind. Because all too often there can be perhaps you could say a confusion, that not a confusion, the emphasis can be on the object, the material object, and lesser on the motivation. So for example, if one is going to pay homage to an image of the Buddha, or make offerings to an image of the Buddha, or circumambulate it, if one's attention is on making sure that that image is particularly magnificent and the material it's made out of is something of great value, whilst there is some importance to that, what is of primary importance, incomparably more important, is the attitude, the intention, the motivation that one has whilst engaging in the virtuous practice towards the object. And this is best illustrated through the example of Lama Atisha. He was a great Lama or great Pandit from India who came to Tibet. Surely he could have had holy objects of the greatest value. His stupa was made from wood, a very common substance. But yet, with his holy mind of bodhicitta, he would have made tremendous virtue, independence on that virtuous object, just sculpted from wood. So this shows the importance of the motivating mind. A mind turned away from the afflictions. A mind, in particular, if it's one of bodhicitta. Lama Zopa also himself, I've seen him even privately when he's on his own, showing that he sees the great importance of relying on holy objects, but under the influence of bodhicitta. So I've seen in the past in his room having a circular table filled with holy objects, and he does circumambulation around there, reciting prayers. So it's a reflection, it's an activity of the body during circumambulation, of speech with his recitation, and of course his mind when being imbued with bodhicitta. So for many people whose time is very short, perhaps they don't have much time to read text, and their knowledge to reflect well on bodhicitta or emptiness is a bit limited, these practices are excellent to do, and I'd encourage you to engage in these as much as you can, especially if you don't have time to engage in meditation.
Ane chige sosugi hala sedui kabline to sosugi subunalia ane busimbato me boy desulia jimbatangu samje ane chige sawaina ane sosugi jimbatangu phe ane chagorwa ane degi anga jugi chagore ane sosugi da medo dumra da medo rob시 tawyene medo digi da yang du suning jo cha ya sanje le chopu samje meba cheche di sanje le choba da sanje da jeju semba tamje le choba yin samje anga jugi medo tapje 다바이네 델리아 제바이나 아니 최비 차용을 제가 최바야 차고를 개와 차고를 때 미션다겠다네 아니 소수기 컴퓨터에도 인지에 통과를 제가 미션다데 인지에 통 미션다 소와 디지털 때 이나 소수기 공로 델리아 미션다 지금 제 소수기 뽑기야 된다 지금 말했는데 이제 소수기 초주 장주선바 탐 상계 장주선바 탐제를 최바이 대장의 최비 매도 인삼제 매도 답지 매도 제바이나 아니 뒤 제가 개와 차고를 제가 소수기 칼라 이번에 둘러로 신에 소소 사바지 둘러 사바지 요번에 남번 마관지 엔투제전 야 소수리아 지기가 저기 야권 상계 장주선바 탐주 최부의 선비게 야 최바이 부의제 아니 지배지 다샤베나 근데 이제 소수 개와 차야 제가 나중에 개와 사야 세디 Samlu Kunogi told some Matama, some Natari told Pijuchina Karina Gawa drag a chat over. Just the Dinza, that been a church in the Guru was shanty, the Nigo Sosuke Jevin, Sosuke, Simja, Tamji Panya, Dunda Yin, somebody, and Jeman Mount, Mimongo, Cora, Mitoya, Cora, Cora, the Neke or Salmo, what thing you took you, Sosolia, Kuno Mena, Digi, Corage Covana. Thing you do Kawasaki, or Chesena, Bema say Panto, Pampachimutu, Chesang Shana, Shore, to Kawalia, and Jiki, and some Jajusim, not only said it, Kawa the bed, Chembura teacher, Tisu says, Konang me Chayag, Nihayurwa. Chesa, Chunjun and Chimbo Chamaja said it's Oguno Rally, Kuno, Jajusim, Simbutone, Chebana, Chazanki, Kiawadi, Sanyu want to be Guchadu. Then or do China to get Lam Rim Text JPG, then the Shepana do some down to do Shady, Geshe Thubten Rabten.
As we would have heard many times before, that whether an activity, whatever it is, whether it's going to be virtuous or not, depends on the motivation. So here I want to encourage you to take responsibility for your mind, take care of your mind, be aware of your mind, and use every opportunity that comes your way to accumulate virtue, accumulate the causes for good rebirth and spiritual progression, so that one can be of ever greater benefit to others. We all eat several times a day. Food has a particular purpose, and that is to sustain our body, and from a spiritual perspective, to sustain our body so that we can be healthy and continue in our spiritual development and accumulation of virtue. And as part of that, we offer the food first and create virtue. This is the purpose of food. It's to create virtue through offerings directly, as well as through sustaining our body so that we can continue in developing the paths of virtue. And now it's the end of spring, beginning of summer. I'm sure many of you are spending time in your gardens. And when you're creating your beautiful home, don't create it just as an object of attachment, something of great beauty, but create this as an offering to the Buddhas. Engage in your gardening with this joyous mind that through creating these objects of beauty, offering them to the Buddhas, may all beings experience only happiness. Generate virtuous mind, make it an offering, and in this way, you utilize that time in your garden, or you transform that time in your garden into an opportunity for accumulating virtue. When you take newly laundered clothes out of your closet, before putting them on, offer these clean clothes to the Buddha, create virtue, dedicate it to others. Then get dressed and go on about your activities. In other words, whatever you're doing, keep your mind in the direction of virtue. Utilize all opportunities to create virtue. And these illustrations I've given now are mundane activities, ordinary activities. What makes them special is the mind. And if one is engaging in so-called Dharma activities, there are Dharma activities because of the motivating mind. So if one's circumambulating the stupa, but one's mind is somewhere very different, how virtuous, well, one's not really utilizing that opportunity very well. So when one is engaging in an overtly spiritual practice, or whether one is going about one's daily activities, keep your mind in the direction of virtue, in other words, away from the afflictions. And then furthermore, because it's the motivating mind that determines whether something's virtuous or not, as well as how virtuous it is or not, how much merit is accumulated or not, one should guard against the view of, those practices, those virtuous practices, they're not so important. These are the important ones. That's where I'll put energy, the others I won't be bothered with. This is a mistake. Because one can engage in so-called lowly virtuous practices, but with a powerful motivation and accumulate extensive virtue, one can engage in other so-called spiritual practices, those which maybe are more prestigious, but with a very distracted mind, a very weak mind, a mind that's very far from the Dhamma, and there's nothing there to feel superior about. So in brief, all these teachings that you've heard and the reflections that you've engaged in both here and at home should have brought you to the point to understand the importance of taking responsibility of our mind, taking care of our mind, and always ensuring our mind is in the direction of virtue.
지수제 기회 자와 가래치는 배야고래 선배 소소라는 소소 보고기다 되니기 직제와 배야고 중송원 선배 소소라는 게 개와 제시아 받아 소소기 현리에 편배 자와 지시바 가래유면은 될려 지수이라 제하다 제대 계치 못 차고래 야 지금 스카벨이야 어떤가 지가 신문에서 학교에 선배 소소라는 게 뽑으시고 준비나 될려 강아지 가서 누경 용고를 제가 디네에서 강아지 강아지나 nga 미래 제가 눈으로는 말에 미인장에 가리나 직지 투그래서 비게 삼다디 게치마 차고 제장이 장기 지게 개위 자와 두게 제 투그래 아니 소소게 현례 팬비게 류가 이기 이숨 관계 톤에 현례 팬바 팬바 게치숑을 마두비 가리나 제 투그래 제가 디네에서 소소라랑기 아니 nga 교 말에 nga 미래 nga 로바 매와 말에 근데 저기 미매네다 상예 장수 선바 차상기 하들이야 시도 가서 로바는 것이 상예 장수 선바 차상에 로바 있으면 되고 지난 지금 밀레레바기 나 가와줘나 나라 로바 예스 나 로바 숨 예스네 소예스는 권조 숨이야스 기딩아 가와나 권조 숨 아님도 요레스 나 로바 매와 말에서 어디 나신 가서 상예 장수 선바 차상알 로바 지기스 로바 인삼되는 가지고 나 로바 매와 미치고 인교에 선배게 삼당고 말와 디네자 소소랑 갱아 미레스 뽑아게 당이 내가 가르치는 지투고를 진짜 내가 야가 요래 중화 요래 간절히 내가 체와 제베 나라 중화 주보다 교를 제베네 체와 제디게 가르던다 지고로서는 소소야 칼라다 둘로다 자야된 디도나 지고를 내가 전부 같이 지게라 첨부로시네 딩딩 지간데 디 교고 지간디레 아니 내가 마찬가지 또 롱한 지기면에 가르쳐 놓은 것은 소소 네 동아세야다 류가 이숨 가서 둘로다 안 사야동에 돈다 돈다 찍바 차도로 첨부다 충충 가래나 찍바 차도 대인상 아주 이 소수기 다지게 최외계 아래 소수게 당아주게 가리 토비네 내가 제가 좀 가르치는 찍바래 나 범쇼가 메스 제가 미래 자상아도 말에 누가 같이 요요를 서로다 가고 류나 저여다 강아 유디겐 안 셈타다 메디겐 안 지금 원보 마상원에 강아 시우를 밀래요 눈으로도 셔모래 제가 디네상아 안에 야타주 제가 가리나게 지투그래서 뽑아게야다 소소가 교부인 섬에 균에 섬다미에 소 교부인 섬다네 소소야 안에 소소 뉴고래 제가 소소 뽑아게 내가 가리나 지투그래서 섬다 제가 디네사 개위자와 섬다에 건조숨을 cap수줘 가지고 야 상제나 전세 몰람자에 소수기 메니로 지나가래 자투도 지야래 안에 직시할래야 펜비 자발야가로도 가르치도다 자 소소라랑기 don달이야 즉 류쳐야 돼 현래 펜바다 최저 류유 초고 뒤서도 도고 고고를 저 디don달이야 니 내가 제가 좀 가르나지 인생 비게 땅을 뽑아게 제와도 예치 못 하고
Earlier tonight I mentioned what the meaning of Dharma is, or Dharma practice, and that is to transform your mind. And later I mentioned, and it's been mentioned a few times previously as well, that this sequence of trainings, in this Lam Rim sequence of trainings, these are designed to bring about ever greater strength of mind, power within ourselves. So I want to emphasize these 2 points here, in that through our spiritual training, we should be bringing about an ever greater confidence in who we are and what we can achieve. And here we can take a few moments to reflect on all that we have done together in our classes over the time we've had together, as well as your own spiritual practice, And that in itself is something to rejoice in. And moreover, if we think of these meditation practices that they serve to point out what we have achieved in this life, or what we have achieved by attaining this life, accumulated the causes ourselves in the past, and now we have such great potential to achieve something truly amazing in the future. We have that potential. We need to reflect on this, because one of the greatest hindrances that we have to our spiritual development is not truly recognizing the great capacity that each and every one of us has. We need to be aware of self-deprecation in the sense of seeing ourselves as lower than we are, believing that we lack capacity, believing that we are inferior and others are superior, not realizing the potential that we, who have achieved a precious human rebirth, actually have. And moreover, we should never have the feeling that we are alone on a spiritual journey. We have amazing companions with us. We are surrounded by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who hold us every moment with their love and their compassion. It's just our limitations that we are overcoming that prevent us from feeling that and knowing that. But the more we develop, the ever clearer that will be to us. And a very realized being such as Milarepa knew this directly, and he said, wherever I go, I'm never alone. I have 3 companions, the triple gem. So he knew this, and it's as true for ourselves as it was for him. And whatever our material circumstances are, or the circumstances in our everyday life, we mustn't focus on what we haven't got, focusing on what we long for, what we desire. This is a mistaken way of thinking that just keeps us feeling small and insignificant. We eat food every day, and like the wealthiest people, we have that opportunity to offer it. Perhaps, unlike the wealthiest people, we can take that opportunity and offer it to the Buddhas and create vast virtue. Whether our clothing is very ordinary and nothing spectacular, doesn't matter. We can offer our clean clothing to the Buddhas and create virtue. Whether our work is very ordinary and nothing to brag about it in society, if we do it with a good motivation, a motivation of in whatever work we do, may it ease the burden of others. Whoever I interact with, may it ease the burden of others. And whatever we're doing is virtuous. So not to see ourselves as beneath others, as lower than others, but rather to remind ourselves that we have tremendous potential. And in our world, there are so few beings in our position, those who have achieved a human rebirth that is precious. There are all those in the lower realms, there are those who have yet to meet the Dharma, there are those who have come across the Dharma but have sufficient interest and aspiration yet for it. There are so many beings in this world who are suffering tremendously through physical difficulties or mental difficulties, who are just lost in confusion, knowing that they're suffering, but not truly knowing why. We have that knowledge. And not only do we have knowledge, but we have skill and potential. And we need to continuously remind ourselves of that, and we do that through reflection, through meditation, honestly looking at ourselves, seeing our qualities and the areas that we have grown in and the areas we are still to grow in. And in this way we come to know with ever more conviction that we truly can live a meaningful life.
중요 반알이야 근데 지기 제가 직 니슈직리아 간소가 냉감 최세 주신디 최고래 하는 chik tasa kare, ane bebege boya tang, ta chik nangbege, riki lubege, ane chik chue chigan kawa yobe ne, dini modelia, dushin kepa chen zishin, ane chik ya, ane chompe che, tsosa tipcha chigore, dushin chigore. Chisna, gane ngamchwe di, chidang ngan zuki pabi wangdu cheba ina, gane jerima che gongbo zoya ki dusi diri, gongbo zoya, gongzo dusi shigore, gane ngamchwe di. Duyan la jerima che dini modelia, sangye pi dushin re, sangye pi dushin chagore, ngan zuki pabi ki chidin mi zhowa da tumbi ki nama china, nyangale tibi gongbo zoga namba. Duyan ngoma la, Delia Gulugi, Ti Pa Jeshen, and Gulu, said Gumulu said, just as I go on to ship you do Cabaret and Chagor. Just like the Niki do Cabaret and Delia, Jugi Geshe Thubten, Geshe Thubten must a chair or this, or Geshe Nuba chair or this. The name some Nanzuki Chosole and Delega, Ganning Chugi Madelia Delia, and Geshe Thubten, and Zulmichi. Gason Jirushia, Dandala, Diche, Jerem Chekana, Chesa Superim Chekason Jiru, Lami Ga, Tuku, Duadan, Jerem Chidusine, and Delia Matsuki, Geshe Thubten, there's an Denenza, Nangazu, Penecanelia, and the Costapani Roa, and there's a Sera Lidroa, there's a and Delia Todu, and also gone to the Piace, Molam Jab, and the Geshe Thubten, and the Pandochimurua.
And then next, just to mention that I'll be departing for India soon, and I have the opportunity to receive 10 teachings from His Holiness. And within this teaching period, which has been this year, will be in Ganden Monastery in the south. It's been arranged there because this is the 600th anniversary of Lama Tsongkhapa's passing. And within the teaching period, on the 21st of December, is Lama Tsongkhapa Day. And that is the day which marks the anniversary of, one can look at it in the ordinary way of when Lama Tsongkhapa passed from this life. Or one can look at it in the other way, that this was when he attained the illusory body and enlightenment. So this is the anniversary that will be celebrated, the 600th anniversary of the attainment of enlightenment. And all around the world, wherever there are practitioners of the Gelugpa lineage, wherever they're gathering together in their centers and their monasteries and their nunneries, they'll be engaging in practices to commemorate this truly wondrous event. And so I understand that Lama Zopa has put together a number of practices that he wants his students to engage in, or to express that more in accordance with Rinpoche's wishes, is to engage in so as to accumulate virtue, so that they too can achieve the illusory body, just like Lama Tsongkhapa did. So I want to encourage all of you who can have time on the 21st of December, I think it's a Saturday, to gather together here and engage in these practices. I will be doing the same, surrounded by tens of thousands of monks and nuns too. And in fact, all over the world, all of those of us who have this connection with Lama Tsongkhapa will be engaging in extensive practices that day.
That you see, you know, that in that Anzuki, that about the Geshe to be a Kawa bottom of Asayore, Chazandi Kawa Della Dene, and the Sanji Temba, you do the Nevada, and the Yaura Macheda, and the Severi Mache, so you begin that Dinzin Tepine, Chigurisumachipigi, Lama, Kishin Dambati Kisu, and the Kusi, Rimbu, considering to Nevada, and then Anzuki Choso Tsembig, that's a Milling Kawaii, to Nambigi, Nyamlen Jehan Tigelian, Nyamlen, and Jabashimion, the Tungan Chazan to Nyamle Yahu, and the York Shawasi, Monam Jana, Tanganzuki Kawa Della Dine, and it's our Kawa Della Dine, Zemle Chazan, Shidion Wachida, and then Shidion Shawasi, Monam Jari. And the name is that Dimazan, Mazuki, Chusore, and then Mazur Tasare, and Chute, and the Membigate, Mazuki, Ebimti, Lasso Bigeta, Majili, Gavi Jawa, Chusuke Jawa, Lagati, Shubin, Chasan, and Lagatiki, 저기 다데 아니 공부 잘해요. 뒤에서 차상 자발람로 야부 용어 쇼세데 근데 주 뭐람 잘해.
Okay. So I really apologize. I've gone on a little bit long tonight. So my apologies. So just very briefly then, when we come now to dedicate, just to keep the following in mind, because we're now dedicating for all the virtue that we've accumulated together and apart this year. So in particular, we dedicate that all the holy beings in this world, in particular His Holiness and Lama Zopa, that they continue to remain amongst us, guiding beings towards the development, the attainment of their own enlightenment, and dedicate our virtue that all their aspirations are fulfilled as quickly as possible. And furthermore, we dedicate, so that would be the first, and the second, we dedicate that our Dharma Center here and all the projects on this land to do with the Atisha Center and the stupa and the nunnery as well as the monastery, that these are all accomplished quickly. And all the FPMT Dharma centers and projects are quickly accomplished. And in fact, all the Dharma centers in the world and all places where the suffering of beings is being eased, where all activities of beings which are directed towards benefit, being of benefit to others, whether it's temporary or ultimate, that these are successful. And moreover, that through the cultivation of inner peace in the continuum of all beings, may all conflicts, whether in the home or in society or between communities or between nations, may this be pacified.
Geshe Thubten Rabten Tibetan be yakure da nui ni mo be ne azu lo cheman pa an chasa ya je da nga ma na shin ji nga chasa an tumbu chasa de bu je ne ya je nga zu ji ke la me ka da san yi ge ka du ye ge don nga zu ge ge jo nyam ne ya le ya ne ya bu ya ge nga zu chasa an ne mo nam ja le an de je sa da de Christmas le ro yore Christmas le no lo sa de chasang le an ji ya wo yang ge zhe xi de le xue.
I just want to lastly say a heartfelt thank you to everyone here, certainly to the staff, the full-time and part-time and voluntary staff who make the whole place happen and make it possible that we can gather together here to hear the words of the Dharma and to reflect on the words of the Dharma. And not just to all those whose many activities make this possible, but to the students who come. Without students, the staff would have nothing to arrange for. So I want to thank all of you. And I've so enjoyed this year, which my fourth year here now, living with you harmoniously. And I personally take great joy in knowing that Lama Zopa delights in what we're doing here, because what we are doing here is fulfilling his aspirations, his heartfelt wishes. And knowing that brings great joy to me. And so I'm going away now for a couple of months, but I'm looking forward to coming back next year at the beginning of February and continuing to live amongst you happily and harmoniously, and picking up from where we're finishing off now. And then lastly, I just want to say Tashi Dele for Christmas as well as for your New Year. And seeing Dundrup sitting over there reminds me that please, when you dedicate now, dedicate that all his virtuous activities are successful, and that all his aspirations are achieved, because the success of the retreat with Rinpoche largely rests with him. Okay. Thank you.